Shalom, and welcome again to a message from the wisdom of Torah. This week we are studying the portion of the Torah, Ha'azinu. Portion is in the book of Deuteronomy, Dvarim, chapter 32, Perek Lamed Bet. Ha'azinu hashamayim va'adabera, v'tishma ha'aretz imrefi. Give ear, O heaven, and I will speak. Let the earth hear the saying of my mouth. Moses, is giving his final speech to the people. His final last words before he blesses them. He's talking to the people and telling them to listen. And not only is he telling them to listen, he's calling upon heaven and earth, as he mentions a few verses earlier, in chapter 31, verse 28, Pasuk Kafchet. He says, "Assemble to me all your tribe. Hakilu et kohalayit kol ziknei shivtichem, all your tribal and elders. Ve'adabra be'oznehem, and I will say, and I will talk in their ears, et hadvarim ha'ela, the things I'm about to say. Ve'aida bam et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, and I will bring heaven and earth as a witness. Aida bam, I will bring a witness." Why is the heaven and earth being brought here as a witness? What are they testifying of? What are they coming to prove? And what are the words that Moses is telling the people on his very last assembling of the people? Actually, if we read the words, it's a very sad portion of the Torah. It begins with history. It says, God, who is called here the Rock, Hatzur, Tamim Pa'lo, his work is perfect. El Emunah ve'ein Avel, he is a faithful God without any bit of injustice. But right afterwards it says, Shichet lo banav mumam. The corruption is not his, it is his children's shortcomings. And then he continues in saying, Zechor yemot olam. Remember the day that passed, the old days of old, the years of each generation. And what is he telling? He's describing that God created the world, created nations. God created all the nations. He separated the nations, and he chooses the people of Israel. God has chosen his people, Jacob, Yaakov, as his heritage. But what happened? Shamanta, Avita, Kasita, Vayitshman Yishurun Vayivat, Vayitosh Eloha Asahu. I'm reading verse 15. People of Israel who are used of the name Yeshurun, all from remembering the verse, the name Israel, which means straight. But what was straight? What was Yeshurun? When crooked, corrupted. Yeshurun waxed fat and kicked out. Vayitosh Eloha Asahu. And the people of Israel have not only disobeyed, the word Vayitosh, which means they totally scorned, they totally turned their back upon God. Till the point that Vayar Adonai Vayinatz, and God saw, and he became angry. And because of the anger provoked by his sons and daughters, Mikaas banav uvnotav, and what did he say to himself? Astira panai mehem. I will hide my countenance from them. And he talks to Moses is telling the people of Israel that there will come a time where God will turn his back on the people with anger. And the worst of worst things will happen. Chitzai achalebam. I will exhaust my arrows upon them. Not only my arrows will be drunk, ashkir chitzai midam, from the blood of them. In the end of days, ashbita me'enosh zichram. God says to himself, I'm reading verse 26, I said, Amarti, afehem, I will disperse them. I will make the memory of them cease from mankind. God got to a point where his anger on his own children was so strong. God, who is here called again and again a tsur, a stone, is angry with his people. And the consequences are anti-Semitism, hatred, gas chambers. He says to himself, I will disperse them, I will make the memory of them cease from mankind. This is what he really wants to do at that point. From anger. In last week's portion, we spoke about reaching a point where after all the curses take place, the people of Israel return to God. They return to the land. Here we're talking at a point way beyond that. Much worse. The people don't want to return. And the anger of God is so great. It seems that Moses is leaving the people with such a pessimistic ending. God wanted to get rid of his people. God wanted to bring the enemies. Karov Yom Edam, Yadin Adamai Amo. The Lord God will judge his people. So why are these his last words? Are these a point where God is going to get rid of his people? Of course, at the end, God says no. Harninu goyim amo, kidam avadav yikom, v'nakam yashiv letzarav, v'chiper admato amo. Nations, praise his people, for he shall avenge the blood of his servants. There comes a point where even when the people, even when the enemies come and attack them, even when they see in their own eyes anti-Semitism, even at that point, though God got to a point of anger, he wanted to get rid of his people, Moses said, no. There is a strong point of connection, like the heaven and earth. Like God created heaven and earth, even at a point where the anger of God is so great, God will not forget his people. So though it may seem very, very pessimistic, Moses says, even at this point, where God is ready to erase the people of Israel from mankind, from his anger, no, just like heaven and earth stand, and they're part of reality, the relationship between God and his people are part of a reality. We in our eyes have seen in the past century the worst of worst, the monsteriest of mankind, where mankind reached the peak of cruelty, and the goal was the Jewish people, the final solution. God says to himself, I am so angry with my people, I want to erase them from mankind. But even at this point, even if there are enemies around us, even if there are enemies surrounding us, our nation today, who have their only goal is to erase the connection between God and his people. And even though sometimes their cruelty reaches things that we can't dream of, and a human person cannot dream of such things. A person entering a family and stabbing father and mother and 3 children. We see hatred from our surrounding neighbors, bombing themselves up, suicide bombing themselves up in buses, killing children. Things that a human person can't even dream of. And sometimes the feeling is that the United Nations want to gather and erase the existence of the Jewish people. Moses is telling us, even at this point, where all the nations turn their back upon the people of Israel, and the feeling is that the world is turning its back on Israel, and we're being erased from mankind, even at this point, God is Hatzur Tamim Palo. God is like a stone, and his connection to the people of Israel is like the establishment of heaven and earth. They are strong as ever. There is something, though, the option of returning to Israel, of free will, of love to the land, is much better. And that is the option that we see the Zionist movement bringing the people back to the land, with love to the land, love to the people, love to God. But even in the other option, when the people of Israel are not coming back to God, God says, there is no point, there is no option that I will forget the people of Israel, because they are my people. They are the chosen people. Just like I created heaven and earth, I chose the people of Israel to be my children. And I will never, never, never leave them, even when the situation and the circumstances seem to be worse, almost a final solution. I, God, am here because the existence of the Jewish people witness and testify the fact that God is one and his name is one. Just like heaven and earth testify that creation was by God, so too the people of Israel are representing the unity of God in the world. Shabbat Shalom.